Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Pigment Playtime. Sadly for today's episode I've managed to lose some of the footage. I do apologise and hopefully we can get something out of this. So today I'm going to be looking at a warm yellow, New Gamboge. This is quite a common paint on many people's palettes. A warm yellow is extremely versatile in mixing. Most people either have New Gamboge or a Quinacridone gold type of paint. So I'm going to look at a few different warm yellows to compare to New Gamboge and see how things go and what the mixes look like. So I believe I'm looking at about 8 paints in total. There is New Gamboge from Ide Yellow. This is PY153. This is what has been commonly used as New Gamboge, but the pigment has stopped being made and other alternatives are being found. The next one I'm looking at is Ide Yellow Deep by Old Holland. This is PY83 and this is a close colour to New Gamboge. The third one is Gamboge by Rembrandt. This is PO48 and PY150. This is a Quinacridone gold, but for some reason they name it Gamboge. The one over from that is Quinacridone gold by M. Graham, which is also PO48 and PY150. The next column is Azo Yellow by M. Graham, which is the PY150 on its own. The next column is my own handmade colour, Sunflower Yellow PY100. It's a transparent bright yellow. The second to last one is Cadmium Yellow Deep from the Cotman range from Winsor & Newton. This is PY65 and PY97. And lastly we have Cadmium Yellow Deep PY35 from Jackson's. I have done a transparency test for all of the colours. I have also mixed each colour with a range of watercolours on my palette. These include ultramarine blue, Prussian blue, cerulean blue, phthalo blue, phthalo green, cobalt turquoise, cadmium red light, and perylene red. So let's talk about some of these colours in a bit more depth. So the original New Gamboge, PY153, according to handprint.com, this is nickel dioxin yellow. It's very light fast, semi-transparent and slightly staining, and it doesn't granulate. It's a nice warm creamy yellow, and that opacity does show slightly. This is the main difference between the yellows, is some of them are creamy while some of them are very transparent and kind of rusty looking. I believe one of the only manufacturers left still making this pigment is Ide Yellow, and I think Sennelier and Old Holland have some mixtures with the pigment in it as well. New Gamboge and its substitutes make very muted greens. The next colour by Old Holland is Ide Yellow Deep, which is PY83. This is Ide Yellow. It's not quite as light fast as New Gamboge, but the hue is pretty similar. And like New Gamboge, it's semi-opaque, and it makes some nice muted greens and some very nice oranges. The colour over from that New Gamboge is really Quinacridone gold hue, and this is a slightly rusty colour, and it makes very nice warm greens and excellent oranges, and this paint is also highly light fast. This one is by Rembrandt, and I do quite like this one a lot. And the next one, which is also Quinacridone gold by M. Graham, It's slightly darker in value. I believe it may contain more pigment 48. It's a bit of a deeper, rustier colour. It's just as nice as the Rembrandt version. And then we have the Azo Yellow Light, which is the PY150 on its own. I read somewhere on another blog post from artist Lee Angold that this colour was very useful to have on one's palette. And indeed it does mix some very bright greens. All three of them are kind of related to each other. I feel that it's a bit of a stepping stone, with PY150 being really bright yellow, the Gamboge from Rembrandt being slightly darker, and the Quinacridone Gold from M. Graham being the darkest valued. The Sunflower Yellow is kind of a in-between between the new Gamboge and the rustier looking Quinacridone Golds. It's slightly creamy, but not as creamy as the new Gamboge. It's definitely staining and it's semi-transparent. It's not quite as opaque as some of the other colours on this list. This is a handmade paint made by myself, so it's not a commercial source. It's a very interesting pigment and paint to play with, and it does make some nice bright greens, but they're not quite as bright as the Quinacridone Golds. They're also not quite as muted as the new Gamboge. The second to last paint, the one from Cadmium, was kind of disappointing. Cadmium, compared to the artist ranges here, definitely have not got any strength in their colour. It's definitely a lot weaker. I had to use quite a lot of yellow straight from the tube just to get a decent mixture in this painting exercise. The colour is transparent and it flows fairly well in water, but it was definitely difficult to achieve some good mixes. I personally would not consider using this one in an artist palette just due to that weakness. It would take quite a lot of layering to get a decent colour. The last one, which is Cadmium Yellow Deep from Jackson's PY35. This is Cadmium Zinc Sulphide. It's a very deep yellow, and it can vary quite a lot in hue, from Cadmium Yellow Lights to Cadmium Yellow Deeps. There's a whole spectrum of intensity and hue. It's an opaque colour, and it's probably the most opaque one on this list. It's quite creamy, but not as creamy as, say, the new Gamboge. It does make slightly more bright greens, opposed to the new Gamboge and the Schlavener Yellow Deep. It's a very, very strong colour, as cadmiums tend to be. You don't need very much of the colour to achieve a good strength. This one from Jackson's re-wets very well and has a nicer flow in water. A warm yellow is quite often a staple in most people's watercolour palettes. It's very versatile and very useful paint to have. I use it most commonly for mixing greens and also oranges. Being a botanical artist, I make quite a lot of green mixtures from both cool and warm yellows. I did a video on cool yellows, I will link that up above. I have a favourite cool yellow, but I don't really have a favourite warm yellow. Currently in my palette is Ide Yellow Medium. This paint sadly is not very warm, nor is it light fast, so I am looking at changing it to the one of the few on this list. So the paints have now all dried. As you can see, the rustier paints like the Quinacridone Golds are quite similar to each other, and the opaque creamy paints are quite similar to themselves as well. The creamier ones have more muted colours, while the rustier ones have brighter colours. It really does depend on what you're looking for. Most of the paints are transparent. A couple are more opaque, such as the Sunflower Yellow, the Ide Yellow Deep, and the Cadmium Yellows. Again, that will also impact on your decision on what colour to choose. If you don't like opaque colours, then the opaque ones won't be for you. The ones I am particularly interested in are the middle three: the Gamboge by Rembrandt, the Quin Gold by M. Graham, and the Azo Yellow by M. Graham. I think I will probably just put small dots each time in my palette and do a little bit playing with each one and use one in a painting and just experiment to see which one I like the most. They're all pretty similar, those three, as I said, going up in stages, with the Quinacridone Gold being the deepest value of yellow. If you are enjoying this colour exploration series, you may wish to consider subscribing to my channel to not miss out on the next episode, and I would also really appreciate it as well. I'd also really appreciate it if you could check out myself on other pages, such as my Patreon and my website. So here is a zoomed in look at all of the colours. You can see that most of the yellows moved quite nicely in the water, and they all dispersed quite well in the dispersion tests below. And you can see how weak that Cadmium Yellow Deep from Cotman is compared to the rest of them. And you can also see the opacity levels of some of the more opaque paints. I will leave links down in the description bar below, where you can find all the paints that I've used in this video if you'd like to purchase any for yourself. This also includes the colours I mixed the yellows with, and I will also link anything such as a paper, paintbrush, etc. as well. I have really been enjoying doing this series here on YouTube. It's really been really fun and really interesting to get inside the colours on my watercolour palette even more, to give a full exploration and just to see which one I really do prefer to work with and which ones suit my needs more. I understand that not everybody has the ability to do this. You do have to have quite a large paint collection in order to compare, say, 2 or 3 of the same hue from different brands or different colours. It's been a lot of fun just mixing and playing with the paint. I've learnt quite a lot from doing all of these videos, and I can't wait to share the future ones with you. If you have enjoyed this like I have, then please leave a thumbs up, as it would really help my channel. So thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I shall see you in the next video. Take care everybody, and bye bye.